Good to be with you. I'm Tony DeCopel. The breaking news right now. The new storm threat, a possible bomb cyclone with blizzard conditions for the East Coast just in time for the weekend. Millions under winter storm warnings and watches tonight, the timing and the track. The multi-billion-dollar questions tonight after the Supreme Court strikes down the president's sweeping global tariffs. What it means for you.
Frankly, disgrace to our nation, those justices.
And the president hitting back what he's saying tonight about the next round of tariffs. Are we alone with the White House promising tonight to release all the files on, quote, alien and extraterrestrial life? We may soon know. And Steve Hartman on the road with a Catman who saves the day.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Tony DeCopel.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us on a very busy Friday. Everything about your money and today's tariff decision in just a moment. But first, a weather situation that is evolving by the minute. A possible bomb cyclone threatening the East Coast. Yet another severe round of winter weather. The timing and the size are becoming clearer tonight. So let's go right to CBS Boston Chief Meteorologist Eric Fisher joining us now. Eric, good evening. What are we seeing?
Well, Tony, good evening to you. Yesterday, we were talking about those trends. Which model camp would come out correct here and trending toward a bigger event in the same places that have had really the biggest winter of all in the lower 48 this year, the mid-Atlantic to right up here in the Northeast. Let's look at the map tonight. You can see some of the snow falling over me tonight, and we've got a wintry mix that's coming through the Boston area and across New England. That's kind of the appetizer event for this storm system. Now, as we turn our attention to the weekend, what we're going to see is that developing storm very rapidly, that bombogenesis, as we call it, a deep, rapid drop in pressure, and that will draw a little closer to the coastline. So while the GFS model that we've been looking at had this big situation, it looks like that may come out on top here with some of the biggest snow coming up along the shoreline and then making its way up into New England. There's a look at that radar image tonight, and then here's a look at our developing cyclone, that Euro model, a little farther out to sea, looking less likely, greater impacts looking more likely this time around. So what does that mean? It means strong winds at the coastline, a storm that really wraps up quickly as we head into Sunday night and Monday. Also snow extending back north and west of it up through Pennsylvania into portions of New York State. And then as we look toward Monday, the peak of the storm here in coastal New England, there's a look at the possible snow totals, especially coastal New Jersey to around New York City, Long Island, and up into the Boston area. That may be the epicenter for this one with some impressive snow totals, those strong winds, and the chance for some coastal flooding. Tony, we haven't had blizzard warnings in Boston in 4 years. I have a feeling we're turning toward this, breaking that streak.
All right, Eric, thank you very much. Staying with weather, we go now to Bloomington, Indiana, where late last night it was a tornado that ripped through the area, leaving extensive damage. CBS News correspondent Tom Hansen is there.
A violent tornado ripped through southern Illinois Thursday. In Crawford County, at least a dozen buildings were damaged, rooftops shredded, and cars flipped over in a trail at least 6 miles long. Within hours, another powerful tornado with wind gusts of at least 70 miles per hour tore through Bloomington, Indiana, toppling trees and power lines.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
A woman who took cover in her car filmed the moment the storm passed over this bank. Parts of the bank collapsed, but she was not injured. Down the road, we met Andrew Krebs, who runs the Monroe County Humane Association, a safe haven for dozens of animals.
My first concern was the people that work for me and the animals that we take care of. And so knowing that they're all okay, everything else can be fixed.
The tornadoes are part of the same storm system that spanned more than 1,000 miles from Ohio to Nebraska, where some areas got more than a foot of snow. In North Platte, whiteout conditions led to 2 fatalities in a head-on crash.
A preliminary report from the National Weather Service shows that the tornado that hit Bloomington was at least an EF1, Tony.
Tom, thank you very much. Now to your money, as promised. This morning, the Supreme Court ruled that President Trump's sweeping global tariffs are illegal and must end, blowing a huge hole in his signature plan to bring back business to the United States. But $175 billion is about what the U.S. had already collected while those tariffs were in effect. That set off a rush of people looking for potential tariff refunds. And then just a short time ago, the president pledged to keep the tariffs in place using a different legal basis. So we have 2 reports on this tonight, starting with our chief legal correspondent, Jan Crawford. Jan, good evening.
Tony, I think we can say this is one of the most significant Supreme Court losses for a U.S. president in modern history. I mean, the justices invalidating a key part of President Trump's economic policy agenda. And this afternoon, like you said, he blasted the court and said the fight for tariffs wasn't over.
I'm ashamed of certain members of the court.
An angry President Trump lashed out at the justices, turning his ire on 3 of the court's conservatives, Neil Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett, justices he put on the court, and Chief Justice John Roberts, who wrote the opinion.
They're very unpatriotic and disloyal to our Constitution.
The 3 joined with the court's 3 liberal justices to rule that the federal emergency trade law that gives presidents power to regulate imports did not authorize President Trump to impose tariffs. Said the Chief Justice, had Congress intended to convey the distinct and extraordinary power to impose tariffs, it would have done so expressly. The ruling invalidates 10% baseline tariffs on almost all global imports, as well as significantly higher tariffs of up to 50% on goods from countries like Canada, Mexico, and China. Dissenting justices, led by President Trump's 3rd appointee, Justice Brett Kavanaugh, downplayed the ruling's impact, pointing to other, more limited laws which might justify most, if not all, of the tariffs at issue in this case. Within hours, President Trump announced new 10% baseline tariffs under a different trade law.
We're immediately instituting the 10% provision, which we're allowed to do.
But that law comes with significant constraints, including caps on tariffs and a 5-month time limit that will undermine his ability to use tariffs as a negotiating tool. It's one reason why Victor Schwartz, the New York wine importer at the center of the case who we visited at his warehouse last year, saw the ruling as a victory.
It's like I just stepped on the podium and won a gold medal.
Schwartz said he's paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in tariffs and is worried he could lose his business.
Now, like thousands of other businesses, small and big, Schwartz will be seeking a refund. But the president said this afternoon refunds could take years, if ever. Tony?
Jan, thank you very much. Now to what this ruling may mean for prices. Just days ago, the New York Federal Reserve found, quote, nearly 90% of the tariff's economic burden fell on U.S. firms and consumers. In other words, you were the one paying for those tariffs. But the Trump administration disputes that characterization. CBS News senior business and technology correspondent Jolene Kent is with us now. Jolene, good evening. Will today's ruling help lower prices?
Tony, it's unclear. Retailers typically don't change their prices quickly, definitely not overnight. And now with the president announcing a new 10% global tariff in response to the Supreme Court decision, that means some prices could go down, but much less than originally anticipated. The Yale Budget Lab said the original cost of tariffs per household was roughly $1,700 in income. With this new 10% tariff, this would save around $200 on that number. Now, don't forget that many retailers still have products sitting in warehouses. They've already paid for that, paid tariffs on that, and that needs to be sold first. And as for potential tariff refunds, we don't expect individual shoppers to get refunds on tariffed purchases. But in Illinois, Governor Pritzker sent a letter to President Trump today demanding a refund of $1,700 per family there. Meanwhile, small businesses are telling me they plan to sue to get their refunds. And the National Retail Federation says refunds would serve as an economic boost. Tony.
All right, Jolene, thank you very much. Also breaking tonight, what authorities outside Las Vegas are investigating as a possible act of terrorism. A driver armed with guns and explosives crossed the country from New York and attempted to ram his vehicle into a power facility not far from the famed Hoover Dam. Here's CBS News correspondent Carter Evans.
Security cameras captured this silver Nissan Sentra slamming through a chain-link fence into a power station facility in Boulder City outside Las Vegas Thursday. Inside the car, police say they found the body of 23-year-old Dawson Noah Maloney with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And that's not all.
2 shotguns, an AR-style pistol, 2 devices described as flamethrowers.
Evidence gathered at the scene led them to a nearby hotel where they found explosive materials. Investigators say the suspect drove cross-country from his home in Albany.
In a message to his mother, the suspect referred to himself as a dead terrorist son and stated he felt he had an obligation to carry out his act.
The sheriff also says he was wearing body armor and they found extremist anti-government materials.
You saw this smorgasbord of radical literature that is there. This is something that we have seen in the last couple of years. Individuals will take very left-wing ideology, very right-wing ideology, combine it, and then they come up with their own ideology.
Now, investigators believe he acted alone and there was no damage to the power station. They're now trying to determine if he chose this specific location because it delivers power from the Hoover Dam right here to Los Angeles. Tony?
Carter, thank you very much. For the first time tonight, we know the president is indeed weighing a limited U.S. military strike on Iran, a strike he said today he hopes might push the country to dismantle its nuclear program as talks continue in Geneva. And the president today also, for the first time, put a U.S. estimate on the number of protesters killed by the regime, pegging it at 32,000 people. Here's MTS Tayeb.
Tony, good evening. Well, as President Trump continues to surge major U.S. military assets into the region, Iran is insisting diplomacy is still alive and that it will submit a written proposal to Washington within the next 2 to 3 days. But the core disputes remain unresolved, namely Iran's nuclear program, its ballistic missiles, and its regional proxies. Tehran has also issued a warning of its own. If attacked, it will retaliate. And U.S. bases in the region, which house tens of thousands of American troops, would be considered legitimate targets. Now, behind all of this is also a hardening calculation in Tehran. Sources tell CBS News Iran's leadership believes the current U.S. terms will not guarantee real security or sanctions relief. And so talks are no longer being pursued at any cost. The picture tonight, a narrow diplomatic window remains open as the U.S. military continues to scale up and an Iranian leadership signaling it's prepared to respond. Tony.
MTS, thank you very much. We turn now to a three-word question that has confounded humankind for centuries. Are we alone? We may soon know as the Trump administration is ordering the release of all government documents on aliens and UFOs. Here's senior national correspondent Mark Strassman.
At night, when we look skyward into the cosmic dark, is something looking back? Former President Obama recently suggested, yes.
Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in, what is it?
Area 51.
Area 51.
Hollywood found extraterrestrial life decades ago, sometimes for cheap laughs.
Hey, he's back! The light giver!
But set aside the cookie factor. Polls show roughly 2/3 of Americans believe intelligent life exists on other planets.
It will be the most important scientific discovery ever. It will change the future of humanity because if they arrive to our backyard, we might want to visit their backyard. We might.
Astrophysicist Avi Loeb teaches at Harvard. He points to the 100 billion stars just in the Milky Way galaxy.
If you believe in God, God is not a parent of just one child. We have siblings out there, and so you have to revise, to update your worldview.
Cosmic conspiracy theorists believe our government knows more than it's saying. President Trump said Obama spilled classified information, but
I may get him out of trouble by declassifying.
That will help. On a blind date with a cosmic connection, it's not enough to believe. We need to know. Are we alone? Mark Strassman, CBS News, Atlanta.
Mark, thank you. Up next, some pharmacies have drive-through windows. This isn't one of them. We are back with a run to the drugstore that nearly turned deadly. Earlier this month, outside of Walgreens in Weston, Wisconsin, the driver here was trying to park, apparently, when a foot slipped off the brake and hit the gas pedal, plowing the vehicle right through the front door and into a woman there, leaving her with a broken leg. And is there anyone tougher than Lindsey Vonn? The Olympic skier who snapped a tibia in her run for the gold this month has had 5 surgeries since then to repair it, and she posted this video of herself being wheeled to the recovery room. Also this x-ray full of plates and screws. While she said she's been struggling a bit post-op, she praised the surgeon and said she expects to be out soon. Amazing. Up next, a man who is taking action by taking a nap. Steve Hartman found him on the road. You're about to meet someone who loves two things in particular: cats and napping. And as Steve Hartman learned on the road, that turns out to be a profitable combination.
Told this story.
Terry's still here doing his thing.
I can see that.
Yeah. And to be honest, I think he's obligated now because they'd be really mad at him if he didn't.
Elizabeth has continued to spin Terry's slumbers into fundraising gold. The sanctuary has now doubled in size and added a full-time vet.
Good kitty.
Which Terry says.
Thank you, Steve. That's another day in America. I'm Tony DeCopel. We will see you right back here Monday. Good night.